Hello, everybody. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, welcome. Just give me the customary thumbs up to let me know you've got good quality sound coming through. Okay, good, good, good. You know, way back when we first went online, I used to go, hey, everybody give me the thumbs up to let me know you can hear me. And all these people would give me thumbs up just because I was giving them thumbs up. They still couldn't hear me. So I've learned to do it just verbally now. I am so excited to be here with you guys. This is a truly exciting time. And I've got a bunch of things that I want to open with, but I have some questions first. I see some of you guys have been telling us where you're from. Wow, what a variety of places. If you haven't yet sort of introduced yourself and let us know where you're from, please put that in the chat. I'm seeing, everything from San Diego to Harlem in the Netherlands, the Caribbean where I am, Malaysia, California, Canada. Like what an incredible, Costa Rica, Portugal, Austria, New York, Chicago, Palm Harbor. Like it's a really, truly international group of people. We have hundreds of people from all around the world, and it's going to be truly exciting. I know some of you are asking this question, like, what have I gotten myself into? I know that. I know some of you are asking that question. Don't worry. You've gotten yourself into something great. But I want to talk a little bit about who all is here right now. Obviously, there's our team, and predominantly you're going to be dealing with me and Ariel. Ariel, if you could wave somewhere so people could see you, that'd be great. I'm sure they'll find you, and I'll get Ariel to come in and say hello in a little while. And then also, before I go any further with who is here, please turn your cameras on. I understand that some of you might have bandwidth issues, and it's just too difficult. But otherwise, I really would like you to have your camera on. This is an intimate environment. The coaching that we're going to provide you is dependent on us being able to see you at times, to be able to actually read you and have a conversation with you. So please make sure that you get your cameras on if you're technically able to do that. And if you're concerned that you're not quite dressed for camera, or you didn't manage to get your makeup on or something, we don't care. Jump right in. It's all good. Just be dressed. That's all we ask, is just be dressed. So, all right. So again, I was kind of talking about who's here. So I'm curious. Here's some of the groups of people that I know are here. There are some people that are brand new to WildFit. You're like brand new to it. You saw an ad online somewhere. You're totally new. Who's in that camp? Who's like absolutely brand new? Awesome. That's so good to see so many of you brand new. You're in the right place at the right time. Now there are some of you, you're new, but you're not so new. You've known about it for a while. You've been toying with it for a while. Your friends have been telling you about it, and you're finally made to jump in. So who's in that category? Good deal. Excellent. Good. All right. And now there's some of you, I'm hoping there's not too many of these, but there's some of you who were dragged here, kicking and screaming. Somebody forced you to sign up for this and be here. Anybody in that? Come on, it's okay. I'm sure there's a couple of you. Looks like very few. All right. That's good. And then I know that we've got some returning WildFit grads, like people who have been through the WildFit 90 before, and they're back here to sharpen up and tighten up. Who's in that category? Cool. Excellent. That's awesome. Good to see you. And then we've got a number of our coaches and coaches in training that are here both for themselves and to support. So who are the coaches and coaches in training? Awesome. So we have a variety of people that are here. I want to give you a little background on why you're here, or more to the point, why I'm here. I think that the short condensed version that I can tell you about WildFit itself is that I went through a major health renaissance of my own almost 30 years ago. And it made me incredibly curious both about food and the psychology of food. In other words, I wanted to know what we really should be eating and what we shouldn't, but I also wanted to know why it is that people just didn't do what they knew they should do. And my research and my investigations really kicked in. And that's what eventually led here to WildFit, to the creation of WildFit. But this 14-day program, I'll tell you what happened here is that we were hearing from a lot of people around the world. They're like, I don't know if I'm willing to commit to a 90-day adventure here. I don't know if I'm ready. I don't know if I could do that. And so about 18 months ago, we started testing this 14-day food reset. And we've had phenomenal and raving reviews about it. And so a couple of weeks ago, we were talking about what was going on with COVID-19 and all kind of stuff. Some of you may have seen that about 3.5 months ago, I uploaded a video that said, yes, social distancing is important. You want to do all that stuff. But really what you want to do is take care of your last line of defense. You want to take care of your immune system. You want to eat well. Did anybody see that video way back 3 months ago? You know what's crazy is when I first put that video online, I was attacked by doctors and medical professionals that told me I didn't know what I was talking about. And that's not how immune systems work and so on. But I think we've now seen that the evidence is absolutely clear that your health is the baseline and most significant factor in determining how severe a COVID-19 infection can be and whether or not it requires serious hospitalization or mortality for that matter. And so as we looked at all this stuff, we said, how can we help all these people that are struggling with what we've now heard of is a new terrible threat called COVID-15. Does anybody know what COVID-15 is? It's not the virus from 4 generations back. It's the 15 pounds that everybody's expecting to put on through the lockdown, or that they have begun to put on. It's also referred to as pandemic pounds. I'm afraid there isn't a metric version of that, but it's pandemic pounds. And so as we saw people going out on the Twitter sphere and the Instagram, and they're like, how do I lose my pandemic pounds? And you know, the search for diets on Google started spiking up. And I was like, oh God, please don't do that. Like, diets don't work. Like, come on, I want to know truly, how many of you have ever arrived at a point in your life where you said, I am done. Diets don't work. I'm never doing another diet ever, ever, ever. Who's had that? You're right. But here's another question. How many of you ever felt like you're the one who failed? How many of you felt like you failed? Yeah, you know why? It's because when they fail you, they have to shift the blame to you. They have to shift the blame to you. And so what I want to suggest to you is that you have never failed a diet has failed you. And so now we're going to do very different things to get you very different results. It will still be ultimately your responsibility, but you will be empowered. You will absolutely be empowered. And those of you who have done WildFit before, you know exactly what I'm talking about. What I want you to know is that this is a different approach, and it's going to get you different results. So with that in mind, I want to touch on a couple of things. The first thing is that this is absolutely not a diet. This is not a diet. It's not some temporary thing that you're doing for 2 weeks, or for some of you who decide to go the full 3 months with this, it's not a temporary thing. This is you shifting your beliefs, your psychology, and your behaviors so that you can create a permanent upgrade to your quality of life and your relationship with food. Does that sound good to anybody who likes the sound of that? Okay, good. That's good. You're in the right place then. We also are going to use the word diet differently, because the true meaning of the word diet is way of life. In fact, here's a question I have. If you suddenly got yourself an exotic pet, say you got yourself an elephant. Now, I don't recommend owning an elephant, but let's say you got one. Would you find yourself going out on PubMed and the CDC and reading all the research you could on the scientific study of the nutritional habits of your pet elephant? Or would you just watch some nature programs? I mean, wouldn't you? You just watch elephants in the wild, and then you'd figure out, oh, this is what I'm supposed to do for my elephant. That's what diet means. Diet means way of life. An elephant has a diet, a lion has a diet, and a dung beetle has a diet. And if we ask the dung beetle, and for those of you who need a translation, it means poop beetle, because they eat poop. But if we suddenly come along and we tell them, we think eating poop is bad, and they stop eating poop, you know what's going to happen? They die, because that's their evolved diet. When you're on your diet, you're healthy. When you're off your diet, you're not. And so we are going to use the word diet differently. Does this make sense to everybody? All right. Now, let's talk a little bit about the implication of this stuff. I want you to know, this is not about living forever. If you want to talk about living forever, I suggest you follow Elon Musk and some of the people that are interested in the singularity. Go talk to them about living forever. But if you're here to live long and you're here to live well, then this is what this program is about. This is about saying, not only do I want to live to the fullest of my potential, my genetic potential, but not only do I want to live that full length, but I want to live that full length well. Guys, like, I turned 50 this year, and do you know what? I don't feel any different than when I was 30. In fact, when they say 50 is the new 30, the only thing they should add to that is 50 is the new 30 if you take care of the vehicle, if you take care of the body, right? And I remember meeting my grandparents. When I say meeting them, I kind of didn't remember them as a child, but I met them again when I was about 12, and they were already old. I mean, they were really old. Like, they were in their 60s, ancient people. No, they were not old, but they were old physically in their bodies, and they continue to be old for the rest of their lives. How many of you know somebody who's in their 70s who's still spry and got spring in their step and they're enjoying life? I know many of them. And so what I'm here to say to you is, this is not about living forever. This is about living well for as long as your genetic potential allows. Does that sound good, everybody? And by the way, if we all did that, do you think that it might make it easier for governments to provide universal health care? Like, if you really want to think about the problem with universal healthcare, it's not that it's so expensive, it's that the food industry makes it more expensive than it needs to be. And so now we're part of a movement that's not only about improving our own quality of life and our own experience, but it's also about improving the social cost of medicine, because the vast majority of the social cost of medicine is an after effect of the food industry. And I'll give you one clear example of this. Before 1980, in the 1970s, there was almost nobody in America that had type 2 diabetes under the age of 40 years old. Today, 1/3 of Americans are pre-diabetic or diabetic, and 20 million young people are pre-diabetic or diabetic. Diabetes is currently costing the American government $370, not million, billion dollars a year. And it's a completely preventable lifestyle disease in the majority of cases. And I'm saying that's one example. So not only are you here doing something for yourself, but you're here doing something for your society. And I think that's a really important thing. Some of you might think that the social change is too big a deal. It is not. If you stop buying stuff, they stop making it. If you start buying something else, they'll make more of it. We need to be the change we want to see in the food industry. Does this make sense to everybody? Are you in? Okay, good. So, how many of you have already watched the first video? Who's watched the first video? Okay. If you haven't watched the first video, I'm going to tell you that this week we want you to cut out and to stop eating nothing at all. Nothing at all. You don't change a thing this week. Now, for some of you who are hearing that now for the first time because you didn't watch the video, let me ask you to please make sure you always watch the videos before the live coaching sessions. It'll make things better. And for those of you who watched the video who had not done this before, how many of you were surprised to hear that you were not changing anything? You were expecting to cut a bunch of stuff out and you're a little surprised. Okay. I know that what happened is that some of you were surprised pleasantly, like, oh, thank God I don't have to give up my ice cream. Oh, thank God I don't have to give up my bread, or whatever you thought I was going to take away from you. And I know that some of you were surprised not very well. In other words, you were like, what? I came here expecting to make some changes. I binged all weekend long and now I want to stop. And so some of you may even have been disappointed when we said to stop. And and then some of you are just confused. You're like, what's going on here? I want you to know that no matter what your reaction was, it was the reaction you were meant to have, because this program is about your psychology. And so if you came into the program relieved, you learned something about yourself, that you're afraid I'm going to take things away from you. If you came into this program like disappointed because I didn't take stuff away from you, then what you've probably done in the past is done things too harshly to be able to stick to them correctly. And if you simply came here confused and you're wondering, then that's excellent, because it means that we are doing something different. And if you want to get different results, you have to do different things. So we are going to do different things and you are going to get results. It's going to be effective. I want to talk a little bit more about the logistics of it, and then I want to jump in and I want to introduce you guys to Ariel, and then I want to hear from you. The logistics of this are that you will be, and I've just had a note from our technical team that there's been some email deliverability problems. So some of you may not have received the link for the first video. And I want to make sure that we're working. I want you to know that our team is working on that. If you ever have technical problems, you can write to support@getwildfit.com and they will take care of you there. And if you have coaching and food and nutrition issues, then you go to the Facebook group for that. And then the coaches and I will be there to support you there. Now, the logistics are this. There are daily videos that you will be watching each weekday for the next 2 weeks, daily videos. These videos are designed to help you with both integration. What integration means is education that you actually remember. We're going to integrate some knowledge for you. And then we're going to start working on psychology and transformation, beginning to change your neural pathways so that you think differently about food, because willpower does not work. Let me be very clear. Willpower is a short-term muscle designed to help you stimulate long-term change. But when people use it as a long-term muscle, the muscle fails. And I'll describe exactly how that works. If I ask you all to hold your breath right now, hold it tight. If I don't, but if I asked you to do that, how many of you are pretty sure you could get to at least a minute? How many of you could get to a minute? Okay. But for many of you who are not raising your hand, you know that your body would kick in and override your mind and make you breathe. Is that true? Okay. How many of you could get to 2 minutes, do you think? How many of you could get to 2 minutes? Now, there's a couple of you, Daniel, Tanya, there's a couple of you that could get there. You are probably free divers or athletes on some level, or you're deeply into breathing exercise and meditating if you can get to 2 minutes. I know as a free diver. Now, here's what I want you to understand about this. Even you that can get out to 2 minutes, it is just about impossible for you to hold your breath long enough for you to die or pass out, because your body will step in and override your willpower. In fact, to make this point even more deeply for you, if you were to go underwater in a swimming pool and hold on to the ladder under the water and hold your breath, there would come a point where your body would take over and make you take an inward breath of water. You understand that you would consciously know that if I breathe this water in, I'm going to die, but your body at that point would override and say, our need for oxygen is so important, we better try to breathe. That's why willpower doesn't work. So when you go on a calorie restriction, stupid exercise, ridiculous fake diet, then what happens is your body eventually says, hell no, I'm eating what I want because I feel like I'm dying. Has anybody had that experience? Anybody had that experience? And you know what's crazy? When your body has that experience, does it go for broccoli or chocolate? It goes straight for the high calorie, high sugar, high fat payoff immediately, because you've been starving, restricting, emotionally denying. And so the body overcorrects, and then you have fallen off the bandwagon and your diet is over. And some of you, this happened after 10 days or so. Some of you, this happened after 3 or 4 days. Some of you, this happened like 35 minutes after you started the diet. I know that it's like that. This will not be like that. We're going to do different things to get different results. So you will be watching daily videos that are guiding you through these transformations every day off the weekends. And you will have live coaching sessions with me and Ariel on Mondays and Fridays. On Mondays and Fridays. Each Friday, you will receive a set of instructions about what's coming the week ahead. We don't tell you the whole program in front because it's important psychologically that you go through it incrementally. I'll give you a good example of this. If any of you have ever tried to learn a musical instrument, you may have made the mistake of trying to play a song that was too complicated, and then that makes you want to give up learning. I've been trying to learn the guitar for the last, during the lockdown, and I was doing very simple songs and doing very well. And then I decided to try to learn to play one of my favorite songs, and I basically wanted to burn my guitar for firewood. It was too much. It was too much, too intense. We're not going to do that. We're not going to do that. If we told you everything we're going to do, you might feel that way. We're going to take you through this incrementally, step by step. And so each Friday, you get an announcement. This is what's coming next week. And you don't even have to take those enhancements until the Monday starts. So you have the weekend to think about exactly how you're going to integrate it. And we'll explain that in more detail later, probably Friday. Now, you will also have, some of you have come here with the support of your coach. You've joined this 14-day program under the umbrella of your coach. Many of you have not. You've just come in on your own. If at any point in time you would like to work with one of our coaches, you just write to support@getwildfit.com, or you post something in the Facebook group and one of our coaches will connect with you. You can have a discovery call to see if that's for you. For those of you who have a coach supporting you, please, please, please lean on your coach when you can, rather than leaning on the Facebook group. Lean more on your coaches and discuss it with them, even in the Facebook group, but please create a bond with your coach. Your coach is going to hold your hand and help you get through this. And again, for those of you who don't yet have a coach, you do not need one. I just want to suggest that there may come times, especially if you decide to continue on with us, that having a coach might support you well through the program. Now, this 14-day reset, I have polled people after they've been on this 14 days, and here's a couple of things that I've learned. 2 important things I've learned. One, that at the end of this 2 weeks, I will ask this question: how many of you, this is the longest you've ever been able to stick with a diet before, and it's about 85% of people in my experience. What does that tell you about the diet industry? It's not good, right? But here's the other thing. When I poll people at the 2-week mark, how many of them feel that it's quite possible that their food relationship, that their food psychology has been permanently altered as a result of these 2 weeks? It's in the 80 to 90% range every time. So you are in the right place. This is the place to begin to create lasting change. Some of you will want to carry on and do the full WildFit 90 program. and we will make that possible for you. We've timed it so that there's a class beginning week 3 when you guys finish this week, this 2-week program. So if you want to slide right into that program, we're going to make it as easy for you as possible. So those are my core points that I wanted to talk to you about. For those of you who have not watched the video yet, the enhancements for this week are not to remove anything, to continue to eat the way you would normally eat. Now, I want to speak directly to those of you who've done WildFit before. This does not mean that if you, for example, no longer drink Coca-Cola, I'm using an extreme here. If you no longer drink Coca-Cola, and then you come into this week and I'm saying to you, eat the way you normally eat, that does not mean bring Coca-Cola back, right? So for those of you who've done WildFit before, we don't use this week to take a backward step, right? We use this week to work on the foods that we're eating on now. For those of you who have not done WildFit before, if you have been using willpower to not drink Coca-Cola, then you should drink it this week. Do not use your willpower to hold yourself back this week. You should eat what your body wants. You should eat what your mind is asking for. You should eat and drink the way your body wants, because we want you to learn from the experience. So it's really important that you don't try to be good. If you feel like eating something, say you order a pizza and you start having the pizza. It's entirely possible that because of some of the exercises we've done, you'll begin to realize that you don't actually like pizza as much as you thought you did. I know that sounds impossible for some of you. Trust me, it can happen. But now you might be tempted to not eat as much as you did before. No. This week, you eat what you ate before, and you eat as much as you ate before, even if you start feeling like you don't want to. Please give me a hand to tell me that you know that rule. You eat the way you're eating before, and you don't cut anything out. You don't do that. All right. Now, why you're going to be doing this is that you're going to start to learn a lot about your internal dialogue. For those of you who've done WildFit before, how many of you kind of felt like WildFit showed you that you might have a mild multiple personality disorder? How many of you felt like that a little bit? Yeah, like, oh my God, I talk to myself about food all the time and I just didn't know. Well, those of you who have not done the program before, you're going to find out that you have a mild multiple personality disorder. And that is that you have 2 characters, one called the food angel and one called the food devil. And the food devil is the one that when you drive past the Cinnabon, it goes, Cinnabon, or Krispy Kreme, Tim Hortons, or whatever the brand name is where you live, right? The food devil is the one that's going, come on. By the way, the food devil uses a drug dealer voice very often. Just one, come on, just one, right? And then the food angel is the one going, what are you doing? We don't want to do that. We want to be healthy. And then this week, you're going to begin to eavesdrop on the food angel and the food devil. And that's why it's important that you keep eating the way you're eating and that you don't start to cut things down, because you want to learn from the experience and pay attention to the way the food angel and the food devil speak. Here's one way to think of it. And I know for some of you who watch the video, I'm reviewing some of the things that are in the video, and that's because I'm aware many people didn't get the video. So I'm covering some of the stuff again. But I want you to imagine that you tell me you want to buy a car, and I introduce you to a friend of mine. I say, my friend John runs this great car place. You can go talk to him. But listen, John's a total sales guy. So what you need to know is the minute you pull onto the lot, he's going to come walking out of the building. He's going to be walking tall, chest out, big smile, hand out, ready to shake hands. He does that every time to create some rapport. He's going to have some small talk with you. Then he's going to start asking you some questions about how you made the decision to buy your last car. The reason he's asking you those decisions is he's trying to figure out your buying strategy so he can use the same strategy to sell you the new car. And then once he's found that stuff out, he's going to then show you some cars. And instead of asking you if you want to buy the car, he's going to ask you what color you would like the car in. And that way you won't be able to say no. He'll just go, would you prefer it in red or blue? And you'll go red, and he'll go, great, I'll go get the contract. You just need to know these things about John. Now, when you go to the car lot and you see John walking out onto the street, do you think that John's sales power has been diminished a little bit because you know his strategies? How many feel it would be harder for John to sell to you now, right? See, he would come walking out of the building, big smile. You go, oh, he's got that big smile, Eric talk. Oh, here comes the handshake. Oh, here comes the small talk. Oh, here comes the question. The more you understand his sales strategies, the less power he has over you. And so this week, you're going to learn how your food devil manipulates you. How many of you know that your food devil's done this one? but you've had such a hard day. You deserve it. Who has ever heard that from the food devil, right? How about this one? But you've had such a great day. You should celebrate it. Okay, who's had that one? Or how about this one? God, it was such a boring day. You need some variety. Anybody had that one? So which day exactly are you not eating junk food then? Like the food devil locked you up. It's got all 3 types of day covered. How about my friend's uncle's dog's cousin's mailman tripped over a nail and had to go to the hospital. I feel like I need to have a snack. Like the food devil is going to come up with excuses every time. And this week, you're going to finally get to know the food devil. And you're going to learn the sales strategy of the food devil. And they're going to lose power over you. Does this make sense to you? Yes? Good deal. Good deal. All right. So also this week, we want you to step up your water intake. Now, if you're already a very hydrated person, you don't need to step it up more. But if you're really not so hydrated, then I really want you to step up more. And I want to tell you something about thirst. I saw this health blog the other day. It made me want to blow up the website, honestly. I couldn't believe it. It said, you don't need to pay so much attention to water. You've got this great gift. It's called thirst, and it'll make sure that you drink enough water. Whoever that health writer was, and they had these letters in front of their name, DR. I don't know if that meant Dominican Republic or doctor, because based on the advice, it should not have been doctor. Thirst is not an indication that you need water now. Thirst is an indication that you needed water 2 days ago. It means that you are in urgent dehydration. If you are thirsty, you are dehydrated. So you need to drink water preemptively. You need to drink water ahead of time. And it's incredibly important that you stay hydrated constantly. So what does that mean? I think you should be drinking something like 6 to 8 glasses of water per day. And then you're asking, what size glasses, Eric? I'm saying, depends. If you're a bigger person, make them bigger glasses. If you're a smaller person, make them smaller glasses. But I'm thinking that those glasses should be somewhere between the, like normal glass size to pint size, like a beer glass kind of a thing. 6 to 8 glasses of water a day. Not drinking when you're thirsty, drinking in advance of being thirsty. Also, I want you to breathe. Now, you may think, well, Eric, you've lost it now. I'm already breathing. I breathe all the time. Why would you need to remind me to breathe? Because it's not simply a matter of breathing. It's a matter of breathing the right stuff, and it's a matter of breathing properly. It's a matter of breathing the right stuff, and it's a matter of breathing properly. So what does that mean? You need to breathe fresh air. You need to breathe fresh air, please. Like, I know that a lot of you have now, your countries have opened up and you're allowed to go outside, but some of you may not be there yet. Then open the windows, open the doors, get fresh air in. You need to breathe fresh air. Also, you need to breathe fully. Like, I mean fully. See, a lot of us these days are spending too much time sitting down. And when we sit down, we crunch up our abdomen and we crunch up our diaphragm and we breathe quite shallowly in the top of our chest. How many of you have a primary objective or a secondary objective of losing weight? How many of you are interested in losing weight? Okay. Listen to me carefully, particularly for you that are female. This is harder. This part here, you need to hear me. Men, unfortunately, it's easier for them what I'm about to say, but women, you really need to listen to me. If you are managing your stress badly, your body will be reluctant to release weight. It's really important that you do everything you can to manage your stress well, because if your body feels stressed, it feels like it needs to hold on to the spare calories and the spare water. Oh, I'm under stress. I better hold on. Think of it like a backpack full of emergency supplies. And if you're under stress, you don't want to put the backpack down. One of the ways that you generate stress in your body is by breathing shallowly. So if you breathe only in the top part of your lungs, you're breathing like a prey animal. You're breathing quietly as if you're being hunted. And so your body is producing cortisol and maybe even adrenaline, and that will make the weight loss journey more difficult. So when you do really powerful breathing, you actually communicate with your cells that you're safe. And I want to explain this to you. If you can imagine for a minute what it's like to be out in the bush, I want you to think about what it's like to be out there the way most of our ancestors lived. In fact, you don't just have to imagine it. Let's go there. Who would like to come? Who wants to come to Africa with me? Anybody? All right, let's go to Africa. Let's just go to Africa. And here we are in Africa. And this is a video that I shot. This young man is preparing his arrow to go hunting. And I want you to think about something. All around us are wild animals and other tribes and thorn trees and all kinds of different things that are really designed to kill us, okay? Like it's a dangerous world out there. So here's my question for you. If he walks around the corner and he sees a lion, do you think he goes like this? Is that how he breathes when he sees the lion? Or does he breathe like this? And then breathe shallow, right? He breathes shallow so the lion won't hear him. When you breathe shallow, your body automatically assumes there's lions around, or hyenas, or leopards, or other tribes. So when you breathe shallow, your body starts going, okay, I have to be on hypervigilance. I have to be alert. When you breathe really deeply, your cells go, oh, it's safe. I'm safe now. And the safer you feel, the more happy your body gets about putting down the backpack, putting down the emergency supplies. So we recommend the 5-5-5 breathing. But if you already have your own breathing exercises, I don't care, do them. I just want to walk you through the 5-5-5 videos. And it goes like this. You breathe in for a count of 5. You hold for a count of 5. You breathe out for a count of 5. You hold for a count of 5. You start the cycle again and do it a total of 5 times. And you do that 3 to 5 times a day. So are you guys ready to do this with me? Who's up for a little breathing with me? Now, before we do it, I just want you to check in with how you feel right now. Like, probably you feel pretty casual. We're on the call. I'm talking. It feels quite safe, but check in with how you feel. And then let's just do one 5-5-5 cycle and see if it changes the way we feel. So get ready to breathe in. So breathe yourself out a little bit naturally, and then get ready for 5 in. Here we go. Go. How do you feel? Tell me in the chat. Honestly, I want to know if you feel mentally or physically or both different in any way. How do you feel? How do you feel after doing just the tiniest little bit of 5-5-5 breathing? Look at this, more relaxed, deeper relaxation, less tension, energy, calm, relaxed, fantastic, immediately calmer, de-stressed, calmer. I mean, do you understand the magic? We did one cycle. And by the way, if any of you currently smoke, this is what you are addicted to, not nicotine. You are addicted to relaxing with deep breathing. I'm telling you, that's how it works. You take your cigarette, and it was always only ever the breathing that made you feel better. Now, I'm not telling you to quit smoking. I'm just telling you, breathing is so, so important. So make sure that you do your 5-5-5 breathing. I believe you should do it 3 to 5 times a day. And 2 of the best times are the first thing when you wake up. It's a great time to do it. And another really great time to do it is right before you go to bed, So let's see. I think the last thing I want to review with you before we introduce Ariel and get to know some of you is this. The videos this week are going to share with you some really interesting things that you might not be aware of. Like, one of the things we're going to share with you is something called the food timeline. And the food timeline is the measure of time where you look at your whole food experience. So one thing I want to check with you right now, how many of you, I'm sure it's only a few, I'm sure only a few of you have ever done this, but how many of you have ever eaten some food just for purely emotional reasons? I'm sure not many of you have done this, right? But how many of you have eaten food? Oh, everybody's done that? Every single human being has done that? Okay. So now let me ask you this question. I really want you to think about this. What are some of the negative emotions, like the emotions that might trigger you to eat comfort food? What are some of those emotions? What would you call them? So anger, overwhelm, loneliness, boredom, fatigue, guilt, boredom, anxiety, depression, low self-esteem, boredom, freedom, sadness, boredom. Like, wow, there's all kinds of stuff in there. So now I want you to hear me about something. I need to ask you a question. What are some of the foods that can cure those emotions that your food devil thinks can cure those emotions? What are some of the foods that make you feel better? Okay. Chocolate, sugar, ice cream, fried food, chocolate, sugar, ice cream, crack cocaine. I mean, it may as well be in there. Chocolate. All right. So salty chips, chocolate, cheese, scotch. There, chocolate, carbs. Okay, so you get a sense of where we go. But now here's my question for you. You're feeling down, and then you're going to eat the food. When do you start to feel better? When do you start to feel better? At what precise moment do you start to feel better? When is it? Show me in the chat. When do you start to feel better? First bite, as soon as I start eating, first bite, before eating. Now, everybody stop typing for a minute and really hear me and listen to my voice and really look at me. You do not feel better with the first bite. You feel better with the permission. You feel better with the rebellion. You feel better the moment you decide you're going to do it. Raise your hand if that's true. I want you to understand the danger of that. The danger of that is that you make yourself feel better and then you eat the food, which means you make the food taste even better than it really is. How many of you have ever had an experience where some other medication or recreational substance has made food yummier for you? Has anybody ever had this experience where something's made food yummier for you? What happens when you flood your body with dopamine and serotonin, with the rebellion, with the decision, is that you make yourself start to feel better. You've basically produced your own internal ecstasy, which means it's easier for you to love everyone and everything, including the food you're about to eat. So now you pick up the chocolate and you eat the chocolate through the filter of your serotonin and your dopamine, and the chocolate tastes even better than it really does. And by the way, here's some proof of that. How many of you have ever noticed that the first bite tastes a lot better than the second bite, which tastes better than the third bite, and pretty soon it doesn't taste all that good at all? How many have noticed that? This is some of the stuff you're going to learn this week. You're going to see things differently. I'm going to share another thing with you that you won't see in the videos. If you use a food to make yourself feel better, and you use a food that has a lot of sugar and bad quality fat, in other words, your body likes it. Your body goes, yeah, whoa, this sugar's amazing. Then isn't it true that your body will begin to learn that the best way to get that food is to make you feel terrible? Do you get what I just said? Like, if your child is having a temper tantrum, don't give them what they're asking for. I had this conversation with my little girl in the kitchen some months ago. I wanted to go get her some pineapple juice, fresh squeezed pineapple juice, watered down heavily. She doesn't get fresh squeezed pineapple juice pure. It's too much sugar. So we gave her some watered down heavily. She knows that I'm heading toward the fridge. She doesn't know that I'm going to get her a pineapple juice. So as I walk past her, she goes, juice. And I turn and I go, what? And she goes, I want a juice. And I went, oh no. And she goes, what? And she's 3.5 at this point. She goes, what? And I go, well, I was going to get you a juice, but I can't get you a juice when you ask like that. I want a juice. No, that doesn't work either. That's not going to work. And I said, can you think of a way? Can you think of a way to get the juice? And she stops and she breathes and she goes, Daddy, can I please have a juice? And I went to the fridge and I got her a juice. Now, I want you to know that your body is the same as that 3-year-old. So if you find yourself feeling depressive, lonely, and afraid, and stuff's not right in your life, and you've got anxiety, and then you go grab yourself a chocolate bar, you're going to eat the chocolate, and you're going to teach your body that the path to the chocolate is through your own suffering. And you will train yourself to have temper tantrums. You will train yourself to be depressed. You will train yourself to experience anxiety. If you're going to go eat that chocolate, you know what I'd rather happened? You turned yourself around. You became unbelievably positive and optimistic, and then you ate the chocolate. Oh, and by the way, you might not even want it anymore. This is what this 2 weeks is going to be about. Is anybody excited? We're going to do different things and we're going to get different results. I want to introduce you guys to Ariel. Ariel, funny enough, is in the building. Here we are on lockdown, and somehow we're just in the building across from each other. And so yesterday we were having a chat about all of you and your food destiny and how excited we are to bring this experience to you. And we really are. Ariel is one of our most dedicated coaches. She's incredibly knowledgeable and super passionate. And she loves giving people this experience of food freedom. So Ariel, I hope you can unmute yourself because I don't even know where you are on the screen, but please say hello to everybody.
Thank you so much, Eric. I have been with such fast fingers in the chat, getting to know some of you. I am so excited for this experience. Guys, we have over 900 people currently signed up for this experience with you. Think about that community and how many new friends you are going to make through this experience. So, Eric's job is to be the very highly knowledgeable one who built the program. My job is to help you with the inside track because I had to go through this program. And being the student that I am, I took really dedicated notes, and then I started using those notes to help you guys, the clients. So, in beginning this process, who got out a journal because they thought, I might want to record some notes and some thoughts and some ideas? You have it? Hold it up. And I know some of you are more digital and you're like recording things. Guys, this tool, it is the #1 tool that you want for this experience. And there are several reasons. I'll give you 2 really important ones. The first one is that you're not going to remember everything. You're just not. And if you're here just for these 14 days, it's an immersive experience. You have so much support. You have community, coaches, you have Eric. Everybody's here for you, right? After those 14 days, what's going to happen? You might forget. You might get lazy. You might get immersed in another program or different people. And then a month down the road, you'd be like, what was that thing that I learned? I learned this great tool. I heard this great story. I knew what I needed to do to make these changes. What was it? And even when you rewatch the videos, you might not get those nuggets of wisdom that are there in these live calls, in the check-ins that we do with your community, and the aha moments that you have for yourself. Those key discoveries where you're like, that just changed my world. You need to have written evidence of those experiences. So seriously, write it down. You will realize your own brilliance through these pages. And then there's another really good reason. So Eric is talking to you about your food devil and your food angel, and you're like making yourself a little cross-eyed trying to hear these experiences. And at this point, if this is new to you, it might just sound like one voice. I had this really great check-in with someone who is now in the Living WildFit community after she finished the 90 days. And she was reflecting on these first 2 weeks. And she was saying, wow, I never really dedicated myself to doing these writings and these exercises because in the culture that I'm from, I believe she was from Colombia, she's like, if you say that you hear voices in your head, they call you crazy. They lock you up in places. And I'm like, really? Still? But her point was valid. If you have all of these different voices and you can't tell who's the car salesman and who's the whiny toddler and who's the authoritative parent, it's good to have a journal because then you can write it out like a script. Food devil says blank, food angel says blank, and then you get to know yourself better and you remember those dialogues better. It's just like when we were in school and people say, you won't remember it, you need to write it down. The more that you write it down, the more different places of your brain open up and you can access that knowledge as knowledge in your brain, stored memories, instead of being that thing that you heard once that was life-changing. And we judge ourselves less when it's on paper because we can't say, wow, I didn't know I thought that. Ooh, that's a strange thing to think. I never realized I was so whiny. And instead, it just becomes this objective series of dialogue on paper that you can then go in and analyze and learn from. You don't need to keep it on paper. I'm old school. I like my journals. Some people do digital voice messages, or they use their notes on their phone, or, you know, whatever tool works for you. I'm just saying this is crucial. Now, your coaches are here to give you more of that insight, and I see it happening here in the chat. So access those coaches and the grads. They've been through this. They know the inside track. Don't ask them what happens on Friday. Don't ask them what happens in week 2. No cheating. But ask them what they did to make themselves successful with this video, with these insights. And that's what I'm there for as well. So in that Facebook group, if you're like, I hate drinking water. I know I need to drink water. I hear Eric saying I need to drink water, but I can't do it. I've been trying for years. What do I do? And you tag me, then I can be like, here are some tools that all of these clients through the years have used to successfully drink water. Okay? And I see so many of you asking me such valuable questions here now in this chat. But guys, we have over 500 people, 506 participants currently in this call. So if you send me private messages, I can't see them. And Eric can't either. But if you put them in the Facebook group, even if it's right now, and you put them in there and you tag us, then they are there for the benefit of all of the other clients. And okay, who here, the wallflowers, the introverts, these are the people who are like, not me, I'm not here. And you kind of like go like this on your screen. So people who are here who don't like sharing, I'm gonna ask you to do something. Put one finger up at the bottom of your screen. Just one little, like maybe I'm kind of here, I'm half here. I said this in my intro video. The more open and honest and authentic that you can be throughout this experience, the more progress you are going to make. That's absolutely true. Grads, put up your hand if you are here because you want to go a level deeper this time around. Maybe you didn't play full out the first time. So those of you who are new, this is your opportunity to play full out. If we ask you to share an experience, share. If we ask you to make a video, make a video. And if Eric calls on you, like right now, to do a check-in, then put your hand up and say, I want to check in. I want to be present and take part actively in this experience. Maybe not on day 1, but psych yourself up for Friday and be like, today's the day. And then maybe you can talk from down here on your screen the first time so we can't fully see you. It's okay. This is a safe space. So that being said, now we are going to do some check-ins. So what I would like you to do is, if you know how, if you're tech savvy, electronically raise your hand. You click on participants, and from there you can raise your hand electronically. And if you don't know how to do that, don't panic. You can do this. Wacky, waving, inflatable arm flailing tube band style. And we will get to you, okay? So I'm going to create a queue. And if we don't get you today and you're like, shoot, I really want to share, raise your hand on Friday's call. We want to get it to as many people as possible. So the last thing that I'll say is, if you are chatty, you're one of the extroverts, and you raise your hand every week and we don't come to you, it's not because we don't want to hear what you have to say. It's because we want to get to everyone that we can. So we will cycle back to you when it's possible. All right, so that being said, I've got to go to Eric first. I mean, he's your namesake. So Eric, why don't you tell us a little bit about your big why you're here, if you're already hearing food dialogue, and any questions that you have for Eric about today's content.
Hi. Yeah, I've just literally finished the 90 days. And I still have a lot of emotional hungers. Still experiencing that quite a lot. The cravings, exactly like Eric said before, like I'm feeling lonely and feeling stressed after a really tough day. And yeah, those things still create this kind of, I really need some carbs. And if I don't allow myself carbs, and I end up binging on meat or other things that are supposedly in the season and approved, like nuts, which I have a sensitivity to nuts, and they don't do me that well, but still, like, this is WildFit approved, and even in the spring and stuff. So I end up doing that, and yeah, so I still need to work on that. And yeah.
Hey, Eric, let me address a couple of things for you. And one big reminder, for those of you who have done WildFit before, you need to be a little sensitive to the fact that other people haven't, and there's things they don't need to know yet. So just be a little sensitive about the way you phrase questions and what you write in the Facebook group and all that kind of stuff, because it's incremental for a reason. The best way I can put this to you guys is, how many of you have ever seen The Karate Kid? You guys see The Karate Kid? You remember wax on, wax off, wax on, wax off? We're gonna do a lot of wax on and wax off, and each one of you is gonna have that moment where you say, Eric is insane, I'm sick of waxing his car and painting his fence. And then I'm gonna come to you and go, let me show you something. And you're gonna go, oh my God, it's changing me. So Eric, let me ask you, I hear what you're saying, that this is a very challenging emotional time for a lot of people. This whole lockdown and COVID and the news. I mean, the media, it's like they're a bunch of fear peddling. I don't even want to get into it. The point is that we're in one of the most difficult times that we've ever really had to face. And a lot of it isn't even real. That's the scary bit of it. And so here's my question. I understand that some of those cravings there, but do you feel more empowered to deal with them now than you did before?
Absolutely, yeah, for sure. And just the fact that I know, I'm already noticing which emotions are triggering them and what the emotions are that I'm trying to get to by eating those things. You know, I've really identified those things. But I feel, you know, right now it's kind of where I need to kind of get to keep working on that.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the exercises, from what I've heard you say so far, that you'll find really helpful, and all of you listen to this, you're going to identify over this next couple of weeks that there are certain emotions that you try to fill with certain foods. Now, this week, you're supposed to keep doing that. So don't change anything, but I do want you to think about this. Let's say there's an emotion that you have, and that emotion can be addressed with chocolate. So let me ask you, let's say the emotion is loneliness, and it can be addressed with chocolate. How many of you feel like loneliness can be addressed with chocolate? If you think about it, okay? Yeah, I think we can address some loneliness with chocolate. But then what I want you to think about is, how else can you address loneliness? What are the other ways of dealing with loneliness? Is it possible that a phone call to the right person could help with loneliness? Is it possible going for a walk with your dog could help with the loneliness? Is it possible, there's a lot of other ways that you could help that feeling, and they might actually address it. And so that's one of the things you're going to start to realize, is that there are certain emotions that lead to certain foods because you've been taught that that food answers that emotion when it really doesn't. By the way, how many of you ever found that you can be very lonely, eat a piece of chocolate, feel pretty good for about a minute or two, and then you're back to lonely? Anybody notice that? Chocolate is a liar. Chocolate lies to you all the time, guys. I'm not saying you can't have chocolate ever again. Absolutely not. Especially this week. You got to have lots of it if that's your thing. You got to know something about WildFit. It is not about restriction. It is not about you. It's not about you like WildFit approved. I heard somebody just say, we don't even really think about WildFit approved. I think, Eric, you said that. I don't even want you to think about WildFit approved. You know what's approved? Freedom. Freedom is what's approved. I want you to feel free to eat whatever you want, as much of you want, whenever you want, and not feel bad about it. Who would like to feel like that? I'm in. But I also want you to feel like this. I want you to feel like you don't have to eat the stuff you wouldn't want to eat, and I don't want you to feel any regret about it too. How many of you want that kind of freedom? To not eat what you wish you wouldn't eat and not feel regret? How great would that be? And that's where we're all headed toward. And so, Eric, your exercise from what you've told me so far is to really be thinking about how else you can address those emotions in the moment. What's another way to feel better? So, one way you could do it, take out your journal. How am I feeling? And what are the ways I could feel better? Oh, look, chocolate. But you know what? Calling my mother, or like going for a drive in the countryside or walking my dog in the woods. And you come up with a list of ways to deal with it. And you realize, oh my God, why was I going to chocolate first, right? It's just one way. And it's not even all that effective. So that's the exercise I want you to pay attention to as you go through this the second time around, Eric. I'm glad you're here. By the way, I want to point out something to all of you. How many of you got value from the answer to Eric's question. How many of you found that valuable? I really want you to hear that, because you might have a question and you might be like, oh, I don't want to be selfish and take up the space. You know, like, no, your question is going to lead to an answer that is going to be valuable to other people. Many times you might even find yourself asking a question that other people didn't even know they had until you asked it. So please get yourself out there. Ariel, if you can set up the next, or whoever's adminning.
I
Who's
do.
next?
So next we have Heather Marie.
Hello, Heather. Heather?
Hi.
Oh, there you are.
I clicked it. It didn't work.
Glad to have you here.
I'm here. I've spent the last couple of years watching my dad deal with his health issues and slowly fade away. And both of my parents were diagnosed as late onset diabetics in their mid to late 40s, which is where I am. And I don't want to be that way. I watch my mom poke herself daily with needles. It sucks. I don't want to do that. Shit, sorry. I put in the Facebook group, my life has been yo-yo dieting. It's what I've done. I even had gastric banding done 8 years ago. And I've put on half of the weight that I lost from that because they didn't teach us. None of the diets have taught us why you make the food choices you make and how to deal with it. I have a very good friend that went through this plan in the fall. She's been such an inspiration. So here I am.
Heather, I'm so happy that you're here. One of my missions, and I want you guys to all hear how terribly manipulative this mission is. But what I want to do is I want to get out there and meet all the doctors that do gastric band surgery, because you know what the problem is? People go out and they want to get the gastric band surgery, which, you know, is not my favorite solution in the world. And they want to go get the surgery. Okay. Then the doctor says to them, well, you're not quite heavy enough yet. So then they have to go put weight on to get the gastric band surgery. Then the doctor says to them, oh, you're now in the danger zone and we can't do surgery. You're going to have to lose 20 pounds to get the gastric band. Heather Marie, did you have any of that?
I never was told that I needed to put weight on. I was told I needed to show that I could lose weight before they would do it. So they put me on this magic diet of these protein type shake things every day, and then like a stir fry of zucchini and bok choy and no flavoring, and you know, like it was but I did it because I wanted the surgery, because at the time to me that was the be all and end all.
That's how it's positioned.
I'm gonna do it.
It's totally positioned that way. But so listen to my plan, guys. There's all these doctors out there that are having a hard time because they want their clients to lose a little bit of weight or to demonstrate they can lose weight. So I want to get to them and go, yeah, we can help your client lose that 15 pounds they need to have their gastric band surgery. Only once I've got the client, I want the client to never get the surgery. That's my plan. That's where we're headed. So Heather Marie, I'm so thrilled that you're here. And I really want you to know that you are setting an incredible tone by being open and honest and vulnerable, and never, ever do you need to apologize for showing emotion. And I also have a really important message for you. I'm going to guess that at various points in your life, you have felt as though you did this to yourself.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know, that it's your fault. I mean, if only you'd eaten a little less and moved a little more, which is what the food industry is telling you. I really want you to hear me. This is an incredibly important message. This is not your fault. This is absolutely not your fault. The conditions that you're dealing with are the result of direct manipulation of the food guidelines, food legislation, food regulation, food marketing, food manufacturing. The entire system did this to you. I want you to let go. It is not your fault. Now, the challenge is, if somebody were to drive their car into the back of your car, it's not your fault. But if you're injured, it is going to be your responsibility now. And so that's the line I want you to get. It is not your fault, but it now is your responsibility, because nobody will ever care for your health as much as you can. Nobody will. It's you. And you are right to not want to be sticking yourself with needles. And for any of you who are concerned about diabetes, I want to tell you something about diabetes. Here's what happens when somebody walks into a doctor's office and gets a cancer diagnosis. I'm sorry to say you have cancer. Oh my God, it's like they go into panic, emotion, overwhelm. It's the most terrifying thing in the world. And you know what happens now when you walk into the doctor's office and they go, oh, I'm afraid to tell you have diabetes. Oh, so I have to have medication for the rest of my life? Let me tell you right now, if the doctor says you have diabetes, you should react with even more fear to that than cancer, because it is dangerous. In fact, a huge number of cancers are influenced by blood sugar problems. In fact, hypertension, heart disease, circulatory problems. If you end up with type 2 diabetes young like we do now, you're talking about losing your eyesight before you retire. Like, it is a serious condition, and they have dumbed the conditioning down of it. And I'm going to tell you something fascinating, Heather Marie. I don't know if you have ever heard of a guy named Banting, but Banting is the guy who discovered the methodology for extracting insulin initially from the pancreases of dogs and pigs to be able to inject insulin into people to help them counterbalance their blood sugar. He basically invented, in a sense, the idea of exogenous insulin. But he also invented a diet that reversed diabetes. And only one of those things got famous, the profitable one. And so I want you to know, and I didn't know about Banting until long after I'd created WildFit, but I'll tell you what, where you're headed is a direct match with what he believed. And incidentally, in 1880, whatever it was that he discovered all this, he himself had been obese. He was way ahead of the curve. That was rare back then. And that's what made him develop the concepts that we're going to be talking about, because it's so closely matched. Heather Marie, I'm thrilled that you're here. I'm super excited for you. I want you to be excited. I want you to know you're in the right place at the right time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, everybody else, I am aware that we are at the scheduled time of the call. We will almost always stick to the scheduled time of the call. But because this is our first call and I needed to say some extra things because I understand that the email didn't go to everybody to get the first video, I just want to say hello to a couple of more people. If you need to go, nobody is offended by that. The meeting is officially done at this point. I just want to connect with a few more people before we actually sign off. And if you do need to go, the recording will have the entire time. So Ariel, who's next?
Next up, we have Daniel.
Hello, Daniel. Daniel?
Hi.
Oh, there you are.
Yeah, hi.
Hi.
Well, I'm here basically because I would like to get my life back on track. 5 years ago, I went completely off the rails with everything. I didn't quite end up homeless, but just about. I put on 80 pounds and lost my job, got into very serious debt and everything. So for the last 5 years, I've just been trying to claw my way back up, and especially for the last 2 years, where I've actually managed to do something. I've started my own business and trying to learn how to work, because I've grown up in an environment that taught me that I was sick, that I needed medication. I had everything from ADHD to Asperger's to a lot of other stuff, and they tried to medicate me all the time, which always created problems and side effects. And I managed to get myself medication free completely by myself, and to learn about the psychology behind everything. And so this is a part of trying to get another aspect back on track to lose the weight that I gained previously.
Daniel, again, thank you so much for your authenticity and really just laying it out for us. You're on an incredibly interesting journey, and I'm glad that we get to participate in that journey with you. I also want you to know that, you know, whatever it is that you're trying to do in life, I don't care if it's that you want to play a sport, or you want to become a great, coach, or you want to build a business, or you want to be a great parent. It doesn't really matter what you want to achieve. In order to achieve anything worth achieving, you need the vehicle to be in good shape. You need the brain to be in good shape. You need this whole thing working. And taking the steps that you're talking about taking here, changing your relationship with food is the baseline foundation to everything you're going to be turning around. So I'm super, super excited to have you here. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Ariel?
Next, we have Donna.
Hello, Donna.
Sorry, some of these are sticky unmuters. There she is.
Yeah,
There you
I
go.
just have to mute myself.
By the way, for any of you, how many of you feel like you'd be a bit nervous to speak? Honestly, who'd be a little nervous? I want you to know that just because you didn't raise your hand doesn't mean we won't call on you. You should know that. You should just know that that's possible. All right. Are you with us?
So I was. Where'd
I
it
think
go?
I can hear you.
Can you?
It's a
Okay.
bit faint, but I got you.
Okay. There I am. So why am I here? That's a really good question, I guess. I have not, I've been married for years and years and years, never looking for or thinking about really what I'm eating, because my husband did all the cooking and he was awesome, but he passed away. And so now I'm cooking for one, and I know nothing, in spite of the fact that I'm a physician, I know nothing about nutrition and eating habits and those types of things. And I know that after a long day, I sometimes just come home and I just walk over to the refrigerator and I just grab the first thing that I see and stuff it in my mouth, because I'm just so glad to be away from where I had been. I also have noticed recently that I have this thing. I know that I shouldn't be eating something. I know that I'm not hungry, in other words. Yet, as I'm going to, eat whatever it is I eat, I'm telling myself, you're not hungry. You don't need to be doing this. Why are you doing this? But I don't listen to myself. I just go ahead and eat it. So I have a few.
Oh, Donna, you're in for such a treat. Self-esteem is ultimately built by doing what you say you're going to do. So when somebody goes, I'm not going to eat chocolate, and then they do eat the chocolate, their self-esteem takes a little dip. And the entire diet industry is built to do this to you. And the food industry is built to do it to you, because the lower your self-esteem, the more diets you'll buy, the more food you'll eat, right? And so what's really fascinating is the way this program is designed is you will find that your food self-esteem is going to slowly climb and slowly climb and slowly climb. And there's going to come a point, and for you, Donna, it's probably like Thursday at 3:47 p.m. New York time this week. But there's going to be this moment where suddenly you go to eat something and that voice pipes up and it says, but you don't really want to eat that. And then you're going to actually hesitate to eat it. And then the food devil's going to go, but Eric said you have to anyway. And at the point that you notice that the food devil has to haul that card out, you're going to begin to realize that you've started moving toward freedom. Because if you have to haul out the Eric said so card, it means that you don't really want it anymore on some level. And so you're going to find that freedom line. I think for you, it's Thursday at 2:30, whatever I said in New York time. There's going to be a moment where and I want to describe it for you guys. There's a moment. I want you to think a whale jumps out of the water. It jumps out of the water and then it hits the top. And there's this moment where it's weightless. There's this moment where it's free. There's this moment before, and in that moment is the moment where you no longer want a piece of food that you used to be addicted to. It's this strange moment where you go, I'm not sure I actually want this. This is the free. How many of you would like to have that with a few different foods in your life? Yeah, it's coming. It's absolutely coming. Guys, we can do one more. Ariel, if you can line me up one more. So sorry for those of you I didn't get to. I'll do the best I can. We'll make much more time for Q&A on Friday. Ariel, go ahead.
I have Michelle Faviger.
Hello, Michelle.
Hi, thanks Ariel, it's Fabergé, and thanks for trying your best
Fabergé.
on that. Yeah, thanks. My big why. This is my second time round with WildFit. I jumped right on board because the opportunity to work live with you, Eric, and you, Ariel, is just awesome. The support of the coaches has been fabulous, but this is a whole different kettle of fish. I decided to join in January, the last round, because I retired last year. Sold our home of 30 years that we had built ourselves, and that was a huge emotional hit. Even though I had been on the diet that I lost a lot of weight. When that emotional hit took place, I gained many pounds back. January, I had knee surgery for an injury to my knee that took place years ago. I was dealing with a lot of inflammation, and I'm not able to take anti-inflammatories due to allergies. So I was aware that there was a lot of foods in my diet that were stimulating inflammation, so that was huge. I managed to lose 20 pounds over the last 90-day challenge. Gained a few back because I just wasn't following the steps that I need to take to be able to play full out. And my blood sugar is higher than I'd like it to be. I'm what they call pre-diabetic, and I want to get into the post-diabetic stage. So those are my whys for being here. And I'm just really, really, really grateful that this opportunity is here to work with everybody in the tribe. Thanks.
Wow, what a great, great message. And first of all, I really want to, how many of you guys are familiar with Dr. Mark Hyman? Who's familiar with Dr. Mark Hyman? I like Mark a great deal. He's a good friend of mine, and he and I were having a conversation about 1.5 years, 2 years ago. And I was talking to him about what happens when you take somebody from type 2 diabetes off type 2 diabetes. And I said, one of the problems we're having is that they go see their doctor, and then the doctor says, oh, you're pre-diabetic now. It's like, wait, I was diabetic. I'm moving in the other direction. I can't be pre-diabetic. It's like a hypnotic induction that you're on your way there. And so I said to him, in WildFit, we have a measurement that says that if your blood sugar is similar to pre-diabetes, but you're trending in the other direction, or if your blood sugar in A1C is better than that, and you were diabetic once, then you're called post-diabetic. And Michelle, it's super nice to hear you use that terminology, because Mark goes, oh my God, what a great word. Can we use that? And my co-author, we're writing a book right now called Post-Diabetes. And our mission, when we talked to the publisher, like, what ultimately do we want? And we said, we want to create this word. We want people to know that it's a thing, because we regard diabetes as an injury rather than a disease. It's a repetitive stress injury to the pancreas. And when you stop the repetitive damage, then it recovers, and then your sensitivity returns and your blood sugar can return. And I can tell you that while I can't sit here and offer you medical advice and promise you medical results, anecdotally, we've had phenomenal success helping people recover from type 2 diabetes and from pre-diabetes. So I'm thrilled that you're here. So glad to get to connect with you today.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hey, everybody, what a privilege to share this experience with you. Thank you guys all so very much. The future calls will be a lot more interactive because there'll be less for me to share. If you are having difficulties getting the videos, either be patient or write to support@getwildfit.com and they'll get that information for you. There's one last thing I want to share with you. How many of you, last things. How many of you already feel like, oh my God, this is actually going to work? How many of you are feeling a bit of that right now? Okay, you are right to think that, because it is. Now, how many of you are also thinking, oh my God, I wish this person was in the program. I wish my friend would change, my child, my husband, my wife. How many of you are feeling like that? Okay, please don't try to change them. Please don't try to get them to sign up. I know. Everybody else will be like, oh, go get them to sign up. Get yourself a referral code. And no. Right now, this is the perfect opportunity to be the change you want to see in the people around you. Lead by example. Do not push them. Do not make great pronouncements. Do not walk around proudly about the new diet you're on. Don't even do anything. Just do it. And I will tell you right here and now, if you simply do it, then what will happen is your friends and your husband and your wife and your children and your parents will look at you in some time, and they'll look at you and go, I want to have what you're having. And so you will stimulate the change in them by example rather than by pressure. The more pressure you apply, the harder you will make it for them to change. the more example you provide, the more inevitable their change will become. Welcome to WildFit, you guys. I'll see you all in the Facebook group, and I'll see you on the live call in a week. A real privilege to share this with you. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Recording will be in the Facebook group. Okay, guys, in the file.
Bye, everyone.
Which Facebook?
And then you don't even
Bye, everybody.
to, just put another bullet,
Thanks,
complex
everyone.
TPD, and,